My name is David, and I'm a grateful recovering addict. Wow, I was asked to speak tonight and let you know a little bit about my story. First of all, I've had a major accomplishment in my life. I was not only named as a candidate, but I was chosen as one of this year's spotlights for My Story Matters in Oasis, which is statewide. Wow, it's a hell of an accomplishment for a guy who really tried to stay real profile. But that's not my story. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. I was raised in Brooklyn. I'm a child of one. A single parent raised me, and I know she did the best she could, but I think all through my life I blamed her because she never was really there. As a result, I used that excuse to do whatever I want to do whenever I wanted to do it. You know, I took myself through a whole lot of drama, pain, depression, drugs, psych centers, you name it, I was there. But more importantly, I made excuses for my behavior. So I'm here to tell you that 2 felony sentences, 45 misdemeanor convictions, 3 parole violations, and 3 commitments into a psych center later that you can recover one day at a time with the help of the program of recovery, and which I happen to personally use, which is NA. But I'm not here to sell NA or treatment in a whole. I'm here to tell you about my story. Like I said, I have to go right back to me, and me as an individual, all I was a liar, cheat, lazy, no good bum that my nana used to say, you ain't nothing but a dressed up bum boy. Why are you acting like that? And I couldn't get it. So I blamed her, I blamed my mother, I blamed society, I blamed all the different ethnicities that you can imagine for the decisions I made. So I came up with this acronym, and it was very simple, and is if you change the way you think, you can change your life. I learned that when I was incarcerated the last time. Department of Corrections became the power grade in myself, and it took me away for 42 months and put me into an environment which I thought was hell, which really became heaven because I found me. That place was called Mount McGregor, and with the help of Paul Hogan, Monroe Parrott, and Father Young, those individuals like kind of transcended me from a recidivist criminal to a qualified health professional that kind of like is involved and entrenched in helping others and rather just helping myself to what you got in your pocket. And that's all I've ever done. You know, so that's what I do. I'm right now, I do whatever's necessary to help others. But more importantly, I help myself by making meetings, right? Having a sponsor, having a daily schedule and sticking to it, getting proper rest, and you know what? Knowing all my weaknesses so they become my strengths. But that's my story. What's yours?
My story is not complicated, but it's different. My story is not just about me using drugs and being in a city. I came up and I was born and raised in the 50s. So I experienced a whole lot of stuff that made me not feel good about myself and also that killed my hope. And I moved from Mississippi to Chicago in 1967, so I dealt with a whole lot of issues that had nothing to do with drugs, but it had more to do so with who I was. So it was a whole lot of different things that I had to teach myself, and the things that I always have looked for in my life was solution to my problem. And my problem was always I was never comfortable in me or about who I was. I was always told to be in my place, stay in my place, and watch out. So then I learned and I taught myself self-hatred. I came into the program actually in 1990, and I walked into my first meeting. I stayed 15 minutes because I thought I had been found out, only to go back out for another 5 years. And when I made the decision to come back in, I didn't come back in because I really wanted to stop. I came back in because the drug had whooped my ass just that much. So when I came into the program, I came in, there was nothing I wanted to do but just not use for 4 years until they got through piss testing me. But something happened, and at 6 months clean, I wanted to lead the program, and I wanted to hurt myself and hurt others. And I remember Monroe helped save my life. When he helped save my life, he took me on a venture of recovery. And I've been in institution. I've never been locked up for a long stretch. I think the most time I ever did might have been 24 hours to 7 days. But anyway, it didn't matter whether I had did prison time or not. Was nothing more worse than a self-imposed prison. So I came to this program, and then the program been working ever since. I'm clean today, and my life have took different level. My recovery went from one phase to another phase. In the phase today, it's about living. And I want to say this here to whoever see it and wish it. You're dealing with a disease that has the power not to kill you, but to talk yourself into killing yourself. So this thing now is about a life and death situation. I no longer want to die. I want to live because I understand. I was telling others that it is not about my story. It's just about me being the part of the story in the chapter of life that God has created to put me in that book. And I'm enjoying recovery. I love what I do. I love to travel. And it's amazing. Give yourself a chance. You don't have to die. You don't have to be a prisoner of other people's opinion. Know that this thing works. You see people who've been incarcerated that's out living. You've seen people who come from all walk of life. I got a story, and I'm just sharing this here with you. I got plenty more, but it's not enough time. Thank you.
Hi, I'm a woman. I'm an addict. Wow, what's my story? My story began in Barbados, the West Indies, about 15 years. I decided I wanted to own my own life, and in the process of doing so, I found people that were exciting to me. In the beginning, I was always that follower. I wanted to be down. That was my story. It still is my story to a degree. However, I took that route, and I left home early. I dropped out of school. And I need to go back and say that the people that raised me were really loving, caring, and they had a lot to offer to me, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I found out later as I got into this process that my search and my quest was to find my parents and to know who they were. So being defiant and abandonment issues and rejection issues, all that came up like 30 years later. However, so my mom was in this country, and they told my mother that the only way that they need to get me out of that island, because at that point I was doing some dangerous stuff and people were looking to really hurt me. So I came up to this country, United States, and when I got here, it was just a matter of maybe a month or two where my behaviors picked up all over again, and I never even was aware of them. That was the way of life for me. So I started doing what I was doing. I got here in 1974. By 1975, I had a daughter. Her father went to prison before she was even born. So you can tell already that I started moving really quick. He was never in her life at that point, and he did another state bid. So I pretty much raised my first child alone. But I need to go back again and say that my first pregnancy ever, the child died due to my addiction. I was like 16 years old. And that baby died. So then I came here, and that's when I had my daughter. And 11 years later, I had a son who was 2 pounds, 15 ounces due to my addiction. Then right after that, I had another child that died due to my addiction. So I used hard. I ran hard. I used hard. But somewhere in that whole process of me running, some of the things that were instilled in me by the people that raised me early on, I always try to keep a job. I always try to work. So that I did. I just wasn't able to be consistent with it. I was able to be a bank teller. I was able to work for the county of Westchester. And I never was able to keep those jobs, and I never could understand why. Because like I said, using was my way of life, and I never was able to incorporate my successes and failures and realize that the successes were stagnated by my using. So I just kept on going, and I used up until 1995, and I also need to say that I didn't come into this process willingly. I moved out of Yonkers, New York, as a result of owing back rent and owing some money. And I got up here. I came up here with a friend that wasn't in recovery, but